I'm Christy. Today I want to talk about finding the best ones to help. So now that you have an idea of what support your loved one needs and what they're called, at least in your area, you're ready to look for places and organizations that can help fill the gap for you. But how do you find more options? And how do you know where to even start looking? Those are great questions. But let's step back a minute and get organized. I know, it's not necessarily a fun part of the process. It's actually kind of a hassle at times. I'm well aware. But I also know that it saved lots of time and frustration in the long run. That time saved and frustration prevented may be the extra mental energy that you need to be able to relatively easily and quickly and effectively find the support that your loved one requires. The first thing you need is a form to complete for each organization. This would include things like the organization's name, address, website, email, phone, fax. You get the idea. The types of services that they provide, the name of the person that you talk to, other organizations that might be able to help, a blank space for other notes that might come up in the course of your conversation, and anything else that you think might be helpful. Now, where you create this form is up to you. Here's a few ideas. You can handwrite it and copy it. You can handwrite it for each organization you contact. You can create it electronically, like in Word or Excel, and print a copy for each organization that you reach out to. Or you can create it electronically and then copy and paste that into a document and keep it all electronically. Or you can come up with the solution that works best for you. Now the next step is to decide if you're going to keep a paper copy of all of these completed forms or keep it all electronically. The choice is up to you. Whatever works best for you and will be easiest to keep updated and find again is what your best solution will be. If you decide to keep going with a paper copy, this is where you would print out your forms and get them ready for the organization. I recommend making a few extra copies so that you can if you make a mistake, you can start over for that organization, or you have a blank copy when another organization is recommended to you. If you're going to keep it all electronically, you'll need to decide if you're going to keep each organization stored as its own file, or if you're going to put all the organizations into one document. Again, either way, I'd copy and paste the form into whatever format you're going to use and take the next steps a bit simpler by having the form already ready. Again, I'd consider making a few extra copies for new options that may arise. Now that you have all your copies ready to use, you need a place to keep them. A binder or a notebook would be a good solution for many people keeping paper copies. Now, a folder would work as well, but it's going to be harder to keep organized and make it easy to find things. Personally, I prefer the disc-bound system and would create a new disc-bound notebook to keep my information in. Actually, I did this years ago when I started working on completing the transition steps for AJ. In fact, I wrote a whole post on my organization system, and I've got a link to that over on the blog. You can find that at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted the end of February of 2022. If you're interested in how I organize my information, you can see that post. Now, if you're doing it all electronically, you need to decide where you're going to save everything. I like creating folders and subfolders named in a way that makes sense to me so that I can find things again easily. At least in theory. It generally works for me. Again, the more preparation you do ahead of time, the easier this process will go. Now that you have your list of needed supports and your forms to gather the information on, it's time to create another list, the options available in your area. Now this list includes the organizations, businesses, offices, etc. in your area that offer supports to adults with special needs. Now here's a suggested order of ways to find options. Those that you already know of. Now, if nothing else, you've got a great start with the list that you use to create the supports your loved one needs and what they're called in your area. Now, another option would be ones that are referred to in paperwork from the organizations that you already know of, or referral from friends, family, and other organizations. And then there's good old Google. The next step in this process is to then sit down and organize or contact the organizations to see what they can provide for your loved one. During the call, or however you choose to contact them, you can complete the form you have for them. By doing this during the call, you ensure that you can request as much information you need as possible in one sitting. Now, once all the organizations are contacted and your forms are complete, or at least as complete as they're going to be, it's time to sit down and process all of that data. Now, this can be time-consuming, but it'll also be easier because of the forms that you've completed. This allows you to compare apples with apples, because you have the same information for each organization. As you begin comparing the list of what your loved one requires to live as independently as possible with the services that are actually available, you'll begin to see how things can fall together. This shows you how many organizations overlap in what services, as well as what supports your loved one needs that aren't offered in your area. Phew, that's quite the process. But hopefully, by the time you finish all of this, you'll be ready to contact the organizations you believe will offer your loved one the best version of supports and services that they require. I truly hope that this is a quick and relatively painful process for you. Unfortunately, I know it won't be for everyone. But I believe that these steps will help make the process a little less painful and hopefully a lot more productive. I wish you the best of success on your journey. So my question for you this week is this: what organizations do you have in your area that can assist your loved one? I'd love to hear about your experiences. You can leave me a comment below, or you can leave me a comment over on the blog. Again, that's at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted the end of February of 2022. If you prefer, you can always email me at Christy, Christy, at havenofhopeforme.com. I'm continuing this process myself so that I can continue to say that life is good and there is never a dull moment.